"What the hell happened to our lemon chews?" Miles Bradford muttered, staring at a stack of customer complaints on his desk. "They used to be the best-selling bag in the whole state." Miles didn't start this company with investor money or a fancy degree. He started it in his garage, melting sugar and fruit juice with his brother until they found a recipe that clicked. 15 years later, they had 15 candy production and packaging facilities spread across the Midwest. But lately, something felt off. Bad reviews were climbing. One batch had mold. Another had half-melted candy bunched together. A few returns even came from major retailers. His team sent over reports and spreadsheets, but none of it told him what he needed to know. "I want eyes on the ground," he told his assistant, "not another PowerPoint. I want to see it for myself." He chose Facility 9, a mid-sized plant located 2 hours out from HQ. It hadn't won any internal awards or drawn major complaints, just average, which made it the perfect place to hide. To pull it off, Miles got a full makeover. His beard was shaved. His signature glasses were replaced with clear contacts. He dyed his hair a dull brown. He wore thick, outdated work boots and a neon vest with the name Doug sewn on. None of the workers at Facility 9 had ever met him. He'd only visited 6 of the 15 plants in person. And most of the newer hires had no clue what he looked like. The district manager, a sharp guy named Ellis, helped arrange the cover. "We're short a few hands for the packaging line," Ellis said. "You'll start there. They think you're a temp from an agency." The building smelled like sugar and wax. The walls were lined with bright posters of fruity candy explosions and cartoon mascots. But behind the colorful marketing, the operation looked strained. Machines were running hot. Workers moved fast. Too fast. A short woman with a raspy voice and a clipboard met him at the entrance. "You the temp?" she asked, not looking up. "That's me, Doug. I'm Wendy. I'm your floor supervisor. Don't touch anything unless I tell you. Got it? Got it." She was all business. No smile, no welcome. She barked orders like a drill sergeant, guiding him to a loud conveyor belt loaded with wrapped hard candies. "You'll be inspecting wraps. Anything torn or melted goes in the red bin. Everything good goes in the tray." Miles nodded, heart racing. He hadn't done this kind of hands-on work in over a decade. His first few minutes were a mess. He dropped 2 trays and nearly knocked over a bin. The woman next to him, a tall, quiet worker named Tyra, gave him a nod and helped him restack it. "First day?" Tyra asked. "Yeah." "Bit of a mess, huh? Don't worry, you'll catch on. Just don't let Wendy catch you slipping." As the hours passed, he noticed things. Workers skipped breaks. Candy with clear defects crushed wrappers. Gooey centers sometimes made it into the good trays. He saw Wendy glance over, but she didn't say anything. Once, she even pulled a bin of rejects aside and wheeled it into the back room herself. At lunch, Miles sat with Tyra and a young guy named Ramon who worked the caramel line. "People seem pretty on edge," he said, trying to keep it casual. "They're tired," Ramon said. "We've been short-staffed for 3 weeks. They told us to double-pack to meet quotas." "How come?" One guy quit, 2 got fired. "They haven't sent anyone new besides temps, and temps don't last." "Why'd the others get fired? Not fast enough," Tyra said flatly. "That's what Wendy told us." Back on the floor, he started watching Wendy closer. She didn't just supervise, she hovered. She'd pop up behind workers, bark at them to speed up, then disappear into the back room. Around 3 o'clock, Miles saw something that made his stomach turn. Wendy rolled out a bin of rejected lemon chews, melted centers, cracked wrappers, some even stuck together like glue. She didn't toss them. She wheeled them to the side table, pulled out fresh plastic wrappers, and started hand rewrapping them. One by one, Miles blinked. Was he seeing this right? A young worker, maybe 19, approached her. "Hey, didn't those come from the reject bin?" Wendy didn't even look at him. "They're fine. Some of them just got squished. We're not wasting product. You want ours next week or not?" The kid went silent. Miles kept watching. She sealed up at least 100 lemon chews, packed them into boxes labeled for retail, and marked them as cleared. He felt sick. He clocked out at 5. His hands were sticky with sugar and sweat. On the way out, he passed by Tyra again, who gave him a small nod. "You all right?" she asked. "Yeah, just tired." But he wasn't just tired, he was furious, and more than that, disappointed. He built this company on the idea that candy should bring joy, should be safe, should be fun. And here in one of his own plants, someone was risking customers' trust just to score a higher output. He wasn't ready to blow his cover, not yet. He needed more. He needed to know if this was just one person, or something bigger. The next morning, Miles arrived early, walking through the side gate where the temps usually entered. The loading dock was already buzzing, forklifts rumbling, crates being shuffled, voices echoing off the concrete walls. He kept his head low and moved fast, eager to get back on the floor before anyone had time to ask questions. He joined a different line, this time caramel twists. The shift lead, a wiry man in his 50s named Grover, pointed him to a spot near the end of the conveyor. "You're on tray stackin'. 10 trays high, seal with the shrink wrap, then roll over to the hold rack." Miles nodded and got to work. It was more physical than the lemon chew line, constant bending and lifting. Within 20 minutes, sweat soaked through his collar. But what caught his attention wasn't the work, it was the rhythm. Grover's crew worked in near silence. No chatter, no music, no breaks in pace. Everyone moved like their body was on autopilot. Grover paced behind them, arms crossed. "That's 9, Doug. I need 10, don't short stack." He didn't yell. He didn't need to. His voice had the flat edge of someone who'd said the same thing 1,000 times with the same result. After about an hour, Miles shifted a crate to the side and caught sight of something that made him pause. A young woman, maybe early 20s, was working with one hand. Her other wrist was wrapped in gauze and tucked close to her chest. She struggled to keep up, dropping a tray every few minutes. Grover glanced over but didn't move. "Keep your pace, Marla. Nobody's getting special treatment today. She's hurt," Miles said without thinking. Grover turned. "She can still walk. If she's breathing and clocked in, she can pack trays. You want to take her spot, Doug?" Marla didn't look up. She wiped her forehead with her good hand and kept moving. At break, Miles tracked her down near the vending machines. "What happened to your wrist?" "Strained it last week," she said, leaning against the wall. "Machine jammed. I reached in to clear it." "Didn't shut it down right." "Did you report it?" She looked at the floor. "Tried. Wendy said if it wasn't broken, it wasn't worth filing, said I'd get more shifts if I didn't make noise." Miles clenched his jaw. "That's not right," she laughed, quiet and bitter. "You're new. Give it time." Back on the floor, he noticed something else, something subtle. Some of the caramel wrappers had tiny punctures, barely visible. When he picked one up, the caramel inside had hardened into a dry clump. He flagged it and passed it to Grover. "This one's off." Grover barely looked. "Still within spec. If it's not leaking, it goes." Miles checked the box. The expiration label was for 4 months out. No way the candy inside had that much shelf life left. At lunch, he sat with a middle-aged man named Hector who worked maintenance. Miles offered him half his sandwich. Hector took it and nodded. "You're lucky you're on packaging. I get called to the same jammed motor every 2 days. They won't replace it." Miles frowned. "Why not? Costs money. They'd rather I patch it with tape and pray it lasts the shift." "Does corporate know?" Hector raised an eyebrow. "Corporate doesn't come here. You're the first new face I've seen in months." Miles said nothing. After lunch, he checked the back room. He kept it casual, walking slow, pretending to look for a mop station. Inside, he found a row of boxes labeled QC Hold. Inside them were damaged candies, melts, cracks, miscolors. Some had mold spots. He took a photo with the disposable phone he'd been given for this cover. Then he checked the labels. 3 of the boxes were marked scheduled for repack, approved by shift supervision. His stomach turned again. By late afternoon, he was rotated to the fruit chew line. There he met Lenny, a lanky guy with a nervous laugh and a face that never quite settled. "You're Doug, right?" he asked. "Wendy told me to show you how we do the wrap checks." Lenny walked him through the sensor lights, the bin system, and the reject chute. Sometimes they jam. If they do, just give it a kick. Don't call it in unless it backs up more than 5 feet. Miles frowned. Shouldn't we shut it down if it jams? Lenny scratched his head. That's what they taught us in training, but Wendy says we lose too much time stopping. She'd rather we just keep it moving. Has anyone gotten hurt doing that? Not yet, Lenny said, not sounding confident. Miles worked the line until closing. At the end of the day, Wendy gathered the crew near the dock. Listen up, she said, voice sharp. Tomorrow we've got a surprise audit window. Might be corporate, might be a vendor. I don't care who it is, you keep your head down, you keep production up, and you don't run your mouth. Got it? Nobody responded. Wendy's eyes scanned the group. I said got it. A few people mumbled yes. Miles stood still, watching her. He felt something shift in him, not just anger, but responsibility. This wasn't just bad management. This was dangerous. Injured workers ignored, contaminated candy being rewrapped, machines running beyond safe limits, and all of it enforced through fear. He walked to his locker, peeled off the vest, and sat for a moment on the bench. The air smelled like sugar and metal. Tyra passed by, rubbing her shoulder. You look like you've seen something. Miles looked at her. Yeah, I have. You gonna quit already? He shook his head. No. I don't think I can walk away from this. She gave him a long look, then nodded once and walked out the door. Miles stayed behind, waiting for the floor to clear. Then he made a call to the district manager. Ellis, he said, I need you to drive out here first thing tomorrow, quietly, no warning. And bring HR. The next morning, Facility 9 hummed with a forced energy. People moved quickly, faces tight, as if some silent alarm had gone off. Word had spread that someone from corporate might be visiting. No one knew who or when, but the tension was thick enough to taste. Miles arrived with the first wave of workers, this time assigned to the labeling station near the back of the floor. From there, he had a clear view of both packaging lines and the supervisor's office. Ellis was scheduled to arrive mid-morning, slipping in quietly through the side entrance with HR. They'd keep out of sight until he gave the signal. The plan was simple. Observe until the right moment, then confront. Miles pulled on his gloves and started labeling sealed trays of assorted fruit chews. The machine beside him sputtered every few minutes, the print coming out crooked or faded. Each time the line paused and someone adjusted the roller manually, no techs were called, no one logged the fault. Print head's dying, said a man beside him, tapping the machine with a flat palm. Been like that for a week. What happens when it gives out completely? Miles asked. They'll probably just switch to stick-ons. Takes longer, but Wendy'd rather that than shut the line down. She doesn't like idle hands. Miles nodded, eyes scanning the floor. Wendy wasn't at her usual post. Instead, she was in the break room, standing stiffly near the coffee machine with her arms crossed. A younger worker, maybe in her early 20s, stood across from her, visibly shaken. No, that's not what I said, Wendy snapped. You misunderstood me. I told you not to come in with that jacket. It's filthy. We don't need customers thinking we let people work in rags. The girl, petite with deep-set eyes, held her coat close. It's the only one I have, then borrow one, or don't wear it. You're on the floor, not the street. Image matters. Miles stepped back from his machine, heart pounding. He moved closer, just enough to hear. You know what? Go home for today. Come back when you can look presentable. I'm not doing this with you again. The girl's eyes brimmed, but she said nothing. She turned and left through the back without punching out. Miles had seen enough. He walked across the floor, past the caramel line, past the QC bins. He didn't stop until he reached the supervisor's office. Wendy was inside now, typing something into a spreadsheet, headphones dangling around her neck. He opened the door. You can't just walk in here, she said, not looking up. If the chute's jammed, tell Grover. I'm not here about that. She looked at him then, confused. Then her eyes narrowed. I'm Miles Bradford, he said. I own this company. Wendy's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. You've been repackaging damaged candy and shipping it out as clean product, he said. You've intimidated workers into silence. You threatened to cut hours for anyone who questioned you. And just now you sent someone home because you didn't like the look of her jacket. Let's slow down, she said, rising from her chair. You're getting a lot of second-hand stories. People twist things. You know how it is. I saw you rewrap lemon chews by hand. You put them in cleared stock. You told workers not to report injuries. You've created a culture of fear on this floor, and you just humiliated a worker in front of half the break room for not owning a clean jacket. We have standards, she insisted. This isn't a charity. If I don't enforce discipline, output tanks. That's not fear, that's management. No, he said, voice flat. That's abuse. He turned to the door, opened it, and waved in Ellis and the HR rep, a calm-eyed woman in a navy blazer. They walked in silently. Effective immediately, Miles said. You're relieved of your position. HR will conduct the exit process. You are not to speak to any employees or re-enter the production floor. This is ridiculous, Wendy snapped. You don't understand what it takes to hit targets here. You sit in your office and read numbers. You think that's running a company? I built this company from scratch, he said, and I didn't do it by lying to customers or threatening people who work for me. Wendy opened her mouth to speak again, but the HR rep gently touched her elbow. Let's talk outside, she said. They left without another word. Miles stood in the empty office. The silence was heavier than the noise had been. He walked back onto the floor. Workers had paused, some mid-task, others standing near machines. They'd seen Wendy walk out. They'd seen Ellis and HR follow. Now they were watching him. He pulled off his gloves, stepped into the center of the room, and raised his voice just enough to be heard above the hum of the machines. My name is Miles Bradford, he said. I'm the founder of this company. I've been working here the last few days to see what really goes on. Nobody moved. I saw things that shouldn't happen in any workplace. People scared to speak up, corners cut on safety, product quality compromised. That ends now. Tyra stepped forward from the packaging line, arms crossed. You really own this place, he nodded. Yes, she looked around the room. Then you saw everything? I did. Hector from maintenance stepped near. You gonna fix it? Yes, Miles said. Starting today, he turned to Ellis. We need additional staff here immediately, no more double shifts. No more broken machines being patched together. And I want a full audit of every box cleared for repackaging in the last 60 days. Ellis nodded, already taking notes. We'll rotate people out in waves this week to get proper safety training, paid time, not docked. Anyone with unresolved injuries, report to HR by the end of the day. He looked at Marla, whose wrist was now in a makeshift brace made from a folded cloth and tape. You're getting medical care, he said, on the company's dime. And paid leave until a doctor clears you. She stared at him, stunned. And to the young woman who was sent home this morning, he added, we'll be reaching out to her directly. That kind of treatment has no place here. No one cheered. This wasn't a movie, but something in the room shifted. Shoulders eased, eyes lifted. People looked at each other, not just at the machines. As the floor returned to motion, Miles pulled Ellis aside. Put Tyra and Hector in temporary oversight positions, he said. They've earned trust here. We'll backfill with experienced managers from other sites until we can promote internally. You want to run that by HR? No, just make it happen. Ellis nodded again, then walked off to coordinate. Miles stayed behind, watching the lines restart. He didn't need to be anywhere else, not yet. By the following Monday, Facility 9 was under new management, at least temporarily. Ellis had returned with 2 senior ops leads from other plants to stabilize the floor, while HR had installed a compliance officer on site for a 2-week observation period. The supervisor's office stayed dark. No one had been assigned to fill Wendy's desk yet, and that was intentional. Miles arrived just after dawn, dressed in his usual jeans and collared workshirt, no disguise, no vest. The same workers who'd seen him as Doug now saw him for who he was. Some offered brief nods. Others kept working without a glance. That was fine. Respect wasn't owed just because his name was on the company letterhead. He'd have to earn it again. He stepped onto the caramel line where Grover's absence had left a noticeable gap. The crew was doing their best, but coordination lagged. The roller stalled twice and the print head finally gave out. Rather than forcing it, Tyra calmly powered the system down and flagged maintenance. She didn't ask permission. Miles leaned in beside her. Print head finally gave up. Yesterday afternoon, she said, tightening a bolt on the guide rail. We've been labeling by hand since. Slower, but cleaner. That'll be replaced by Thursday. I already signed off the purchase order. She glanced at him briefly. You're still showing up, still my company. Some of us weren't sure you'd come back after blowing the lid off. I didn't come here to perform. I came to fix something I let break. She nodded once, then stepped aside to let Hector finish adjusting a belt tensioner. Later that morning, Miles sat down in the break room with Marla, her wrist now in a professional compression brace. She was cautious, but she didn't avoid him. You shouldn't be working yet, he said, watching her slowly unwrap a sandwich. Doctor cleared me for light duty. Said I can't lift more than 10 pounds, but I can train new hires. We've got 2 coming in this afternoon. You think you're ready to coach? She hesitated. If they're not coming in just to get yelled at, yeah, I think I can do it. He nodded. They're not. She leaned back slightly, gaze steady. I didn't think owners notice things like that. I didn't used to. That afternoon, Miles walked the loading dock with Ellis, clipboard in hand. The outgoing pallets were labeled with fresh tags, product now scanned using a new double-check system implemented over the weekend. Every box had to pass 2 sets of eyes before shipping. No exceptions. Tyra's already caught 3 batches that weren't sealed tight, Ellis said. She flagged him for repack, not rewrap. Actual repack with fresh pulls. Good, that's how it should have always been. Inventory's gonna take a hit. I'd rather lose $20,000 in product than lose a customer's trust. Ellis nodded, then hesitated. You want to talk about Wendy? No appeal? She didn't ask for one. Walked out without saying a word to anyone. HR's closing her file today. There's nothing to follow up. Good, Miles said. We're not spending another minute on her. Before leaving the dock, he paused. What about the girl she turned away? Carly. HR reached out. She thought she was fired. She wasn't. She coming back. First shift tomorrow. Get her a jacket. She'll have 3 to choose from. As the day wound down, Miles took the stairs up to the catwalk above the production floor. From there, he could see everything. The caramel line was running slow but steady. The fruit chews had been moved to a different belt with new calibration. The lemon line, the same one where he'd watched damaged product get pushed through, had been halted for cleaning and retooling. He watched Tyra walk with a clipboard, stopping at each station, checking in without raising her voice. Workers actually responded. Hector was at the maintenance bench, elbow deep in a motor casing, training a junior tech on how to perform a cold start diagnostic. Marla stood beside 2 fresh-faced teens near the labeling machine, gently correcting hand positions and walking them through the process. No one looked overworked. No one looked scared. Ellis stepped up behind him. Payroll's still tight, he said. We can't hire full replacements on every line right away. I'm not asking you to. We'll onboard in stages, but we don't run lean past safety again. Ever? Understood? Miles stayed there another 10 minutes, watching, listening. That evening, he called a meeting in the old training room, the one that hadn't been used in months. Word spread fast, and by 5:30, over 30 workers had taken seats. No one had been forced. There were no sign-in sheets. They just came. Miles stood at the front, no script, no slideshow. I'm not here to give a speech, he said. You've all heard enough of those. No one laughed. But no one left. I started this company making candy in a garage with my brother. We sold our first batch to a gas station that didn't even want it. Took us a year to break even. I was proud of what we made. Not because it was perfect, it wasn't, but because it was honest. It didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. He looked around the room, meeting eyes. Somewhere along the way, I lost track of what was actually happening in my plants. I let reports and metrics replace people. I let a factory like this run without ever asking how it felt to work here. He paused. That's on me. The room stayed quiet, no shifting chairs, no coughs. I'm not going to fix this with one visit, he continued, but I'm going to keep showing up. And I'm going to keep listening. Ellis and I are rolling out a worker feedback program starting next week, anonymous if you want it. You'll have a say in how we do things going forward, not just what we make, but how we make it. A man in the back raised a hand. What happens when you leave again? I'll be back, regularly, unannounced, and I won't be the only one. Every plant's getting random walkthroughs, not to catch people, to learn, to keep us honest. Another hand went up. You gonna do this at all the facilities? Yes, this was the first. Not the last. After the meeting, some workers lingered to ask questions. Tyra stayed quiet until the crowd thinned. You meant it, right? She asked. All of it, she nodded. Then let us help set the next supervisor. Don't drop someone in from the outside. Let us vote. He didn't hesitate. You'll have 3 candidates by Friday. Pick the one you trust. She folded her arms. We will. Later that night, Miles sat in his truck outside the facility, engine off, looking at the building's flickering sign. A week ago, he walked in pretending to be someone else. Now he was leaving with his name behind him again, but this time with his eyes open. He didn't feel proud. He didn't feel finished. He felt responsible. And that was exactly how it should be.